Claressa Shields, arguably the best women's boxer on the planet in this era, this generation. Claressa Shields has a no-nonsense type of attitude. From the mean streets of Flint, Michigan, Claressa Shields will take on any and every challenger that's willing to step to the plate. Now Claressa Shields has her sights set on women's mixed martial arts. Does she have what it takes to compete against the best fighters in WMMA history? The best fighters in this era of WMMA. Can Claressa do exactly what she says she wants to do? Claressa Shields wants to be a champion in mixed martial arts and in boxing. Stay tuned. Welcome to my film breakdown on the pros and cons of Claressa Shields' crossover to mixed martial arts. In this breakdown, what I'll be discussing are the good and the bad of Claressa Shields crossing over to mixed martial arts. Now, of course, the good is going to outweigh the bad, and at the end of the video, I'm actually going to put steps and things that Claressa needs to do to make a smooth and comfortable transition, because MMA is different from boxing, and we're talking about the business side of MMA. There's a lot that goes on the other side of MMA. So guys, I hope that you enjoy this video. Okay, let's go ahead and start talking. Let's talk about the pros. Excuse me. Okay, we're going to discuss the pros. The first pro, Claressa Shields has a boxing background. And you hear a lot of fans, they say, well, you know, hey, boxing isn't conducive for MMA. Boxing, you know, can't help you in the octagon. And some of that stuff is maybe partly true. But Claressa Shields has a background in boxing, and that's a start. Claressa Shields is so much more further ahead than people that have no background in combat sports that want to enter into another combat sports. Boxing is a great, it's a great start for entering mixed martial arts, because what are you going to do first in the octagon? You're going to throw your hands. Okay, do you know that most MMA fighters, the first thing that they do is they throw a punch? Okay, matter of fact, when you look at stats, and I've actually seen these stats, and it's kind of startling, that most MMA fighters, the first thing they do when they step into an octagon and when they face an opponent is they throw a punch. Like a 92% chance that a person is going to hit you with a strike, a punch. I found that kind of startling. But she has a background in boxing, and this, the fight does start on your feet, and that combat experience that Claressa Shields has had in boxing is going to be invaluable. Okay, people act like that some of the tools in boxing can't help you in the octagon. Yeah, they can. Some of the tools that you learned in boxing can actually help you in the octagon. So in this area, Claressa Shields actually, it's great for her to have this background. And not only does she have a background in boxing, it's a very extensive background. I mean, the girl done been to the Olympics. I mean, the girl, she's 10-0 in boxing. And, Claressa Shields now, can use that skill set to definitely help her in points in the octagon. Now, I do have to point out that, of course, a boxing stance per se will not work in the octagon because the stance is too wide. Okay, and you're going to invite people to kick your legs as a boxer. Okay, you can go ask some of these fighters, these boxers that actually went into, the octagon. And I don't know if you guys remember, but Ricardo Mayorga, he went into the octagon. He tried to do MMA. And I tell you, the first thing that he got leg kicked. So, I mean, that's a little bit of food for thought. Number two, okay, Claressa Shields has definitely the right attitude towards becoming a mixed martial artist. Okay. Claressa Shields' attitude towards this kind of thing is very good. Claressa Shields exudes confidence. Okay, she's never been an unconfident person. And, when you exude confidence, you're going to, think and have more success than the person that don't have any confidence. Her attitude has always been, I'm going to learn how to do MMA. Even 2 years ago, when she first announced it, she may have not been doing a lot of work in the sport, but she said, hey, I'm going to do MMA. I want to do mixed martial arts. So Claressa Shields made a decision, and you can kind of see why that she's so good in the sport of boxing. Claressa Shields has the right attitude, and she has never once doubted in her mind that she's going to become a champion. Now, Claressa Shields has this exact same attitude towards MMA. Could you imagine if Claressa Shields would have actually started wrestling like back when she was 11 and 13? Claressa Shields would probably be damn near unstoppable in MMA if she'd have started way back. But, hey, having the right attitude is good in the octagon, because when you go into an MMA fight and even a boxing match with the wrong frame of mind, okay, you can get hurt, injured, or you get yourself knocked smooth out. Number 3, Claressa Shields works extremely hard when her mind is made up. Absolutely, okay? The woman works extremely hard, okay, when her mind is made up. And I've even heard, stories. I've heard, I was looking at like a documentary on Claressa Shields. And, even some of her old trainers, they said, Claressa was probably one of the hardest working athletes that they've had. And, you got to understand, you see, a lot of people, when Claressa Shields says a lot of stuff, a lot of people, they mistake that. And I kind of break it down, because I grew up in a neighborhood like Claressa Shields grew up in. And some of the stuff, Claressa is a product of her environment. And I just have to tell you guys that Claressa grew up in very, unimaginable circumstances. I mean, her background, she don't even like to talk about it that much. She don't, because some of the stuff that this woman has experienced growing up is stuff that, children shouldn't have to see. And boxing literally saved her life. Boxing saved Claressa's life. And she worked hard because she wanted to get out of the situation. So Claressa, in the back of her mind, she never wants to go back to the situation that she grew up in. And that's why this woman works so hard. When her mind is made up and she becomes very passionate about something, she'll be one of the hardest workers. And I think that you can't teach work ethic. You can't teach that. There's nothing that you can do to teach a person how to work hard. Okay? The person has to be willing to put the time in, and the person has to be willing to actually do the work. And Claressa Shields will be willing to do the work, and that's what makes her such a great prospect in MMA. Guys, let's get one thing straight, okay? Claressa Shields is needed in the sport of mixed martial arts. She's needed. There are not a lot of black women that actually do the sport in particular. Claressa Shields is needed in the sport of MMA. Let's go to number 4. Claressa is willing to learn. She's willing to learn the different areas of mixed martial arts. Okay, she's willing to learn. She don't have any kind of objection to learning how to do things. Okay, Claressa, if she says she wants to be the best, she's going to learn, how to do the other areas of MMA. She does understand to an extent that, you have to be able to do certain things. Okay. You cannot be successful against top level opponents if you don't have most of the areas covered. Now, do you have to be a black belt in every single area in the octagon to be a champion? No, that's not true. Okay. But you have to have a working knowledge of all the areas, okay, to become successful in the octagon. And Claressa Shields is actually willing to do what it takes. And that's, pretty much her work ethic. She believes in the hard work and the dedication to become the best. Let's go to number 5. Number 5, Claressa Shields is extremely good on the microphone. She's extremely good. Claressa draws a lot of attention, and she says things that you're either gonna love her or you're either gonna hate her. But Claressa Shields has extremely good microphone skills, and she can actually help build a fight. Because let's be honest, guys. Nobody knew who the hell Ivana Abasine was. Okay, we didn't know who she was. Okay, and did you know that Ivana gained like so many more followers on social media after the fight with Claressa Shields? Now, of course, with the situation with James Ali Bashir, but Claressa Shields had sold that fight long before the incident happened with James Ali Bashir. She sold the fight. Okay, some of the stuff that she said to Ivana, it was good. It was great because it sold the fight. Guess who sold the fight between her and Christina Hammer? It was Claressa Shields. Okay, listen. Claressa Shields knew that Christina Hammer could not beat her in any part of the sport of boxing. She already knew it. And Claressa completely just annihilated Christina Hammer. Annihilated her. And I'm talking about annihilated in the ring. annihilated Christina Hammer outside of the ring on a microphone. I mean, she challenged Christina Hammer at every chance she got. Okay, and she completely punked Christina Hammer. Carissa Shields get on the microphone. Can you imagine some of the press conferences that Carissa Shields will be in? Could you imagine some of those? Like, some of the things that she's going to do on the microphone is going to be legendary. Okay, this woman has no filter. This woman don't care, because if it makes dollars to Carissa, it's going to make sense. Let's go to number 6. Number 6, Carissa Shields is a freak of nature athlete. Now, part of Carissa's statement that, hey, I'm a good athlete, I can learn these things quickly. Now, I do agree with half of that. I think Carissa Shields will be a quick study when it comes to, Muay Thai and kickboxing. I think she'll be a very quick study. I think, though, for Carissa, jiu-jitsu and wrestling and, sambo and those kind of things, if she chooses to do sambo, I think those are going to take some time. Usually for boxers, it just takes a lot of time for them to understand grappling and, like rolling on the ground. It's just something that boxers aren't very comfortable with. But Carissa Shields is a freak of nature athlete. And I'm going to tell you what, where Carissa lacks in certain areas, her athleticism is going to help her get through the fight. Okay? I think even right now, if Carissa stepped into an octagon, I think that she'd have success against, like a lot of low-level amateur fighters. I think she would have success without even knowing parts of MMA. People were looking at some of her videos and, well, it don't look so well. But I actually saw some things that, when Carissa Shields was training with, at Jackson Wink, and we'll talk about that later, okay? But there are a couple of things that I saw in this video, and I said, you know what? If she does this and this and this, Carissa could actually be very dangerous in the sport of MMA. Let's take a look. Now, this is one of the videos, okay? This is one of the videos. And, guys, we do have to understand, too, that Carissa, she's just learning how to kick, okay? She's just learning. It's not something that she's used to doing. It's not a movement that she's comfortable with yet. But in time, Carissa Shields is going to master the art of throwing a kick, okay? Even in the second video with Jackson Wink, you can actually tell that, she's starting to learn how to put a little bit of force on the kick. Now, right now, this kick, a really even average MMA fighter, they're going to see this coming. But I started looking at the leg strength of Carissa Shields. You know what? That kick, the body kick for Carissa Shields is going to be a weapon. Okay? I mean, do you see the size of her legs, man? She's very powerful. And when Carissa, she throws her strikes, she rotates her hips and everything. And I think that a kicking game for her is going to be, I think it's going to be good. I won't give Jackson Winklejohn a lot of credit. But one thing they do know how to teach, they do know how to teach a person how to kick. I mean, look at Holly Holm. Look at John Jones. Okay, they're all like really good kickers. They know how to teach the kick. And Carissa is going to, going to have a lot of success at throwing kicks. Let's continue. Oh, one more thing. Also, I see that, Carissa, the way that she slips, she's going to have to slip her strikes a different way. Boxing head movement is very good, but in MMA it's different, because if you start getting into a thing where you start slipping punches like you do in boxing, then there'll be somebody that's going to meet you with a head kick. Trust me, I've seen it happen to a lot of fighters that get into the octagon. They'll try to, they have a boxing background. They'll try to slip punches the way they do in boxing, and it's not the same thing. You can slip yourself right into a head kick. But I think, though, Carissa, her kicking game is probably going to be a strong point of her MMA career. Okay, let's go to number 7. Number 7, Carissa is only 25 years old. Okay, now realistically, can she become a black belt in jiu-jitsu in 2 years? No. But Carissa Shields could possibly become a blue belt, maybe a purple belt, okay, in a 2-year span period. Okay, it's just jiu-jitsu belts, they're not given that fast. Let me explain to you guys about the world of jiu-jitsu. Okay, a jiu-jitsu teacher, he's one of those guys, right? He's a master at his craft. And it is shunned upon if a belt is given up and the person hasn't rightfully earned that belt. Okay, they're shunned. And no teacher in jiu-jitsu, no teacher ever, okay, wants to ruin his reputation, because that's his name. When a teacher gives out a black belt in jiu-jitsu, that's his name, that's his legacy. And, jiu-jitsu teachers, they're very aware of this. So they're not going to just give you a belt unless they feel that you have earned it. And there are things that you have to do in order to earn a black belt. You got to remember people like, Chris Cyborg. She just got her jiu-jitsu black belt. And Chris Cyborg been doing jiu-jitsu, I'm talking, like for a long time, over a decade. She's been a jiu-jitsu practitioner. She just got the black belt. She just got it. So, every person that teaches jiu-jitsu, a black belt is their signature on a check. And no jiu-jitsu instructor, they want to, sign a bad check. Carissa's 25 years old. Okay, what can she accomplish in a couple of years? Realistically, yeah, a blue belt. Now, and the thing about that too, when people start thinking a blue belt is sufficient. You can survive in an octagon, okay, with the blue belt in jiu-jitsu, okay, and you can survive against a black belt. Now, I'm not going to say that you submit a jiu-jitsu black belt as a blue belt, but you'll be able to have the tools necessary to survive, okay, to maybe not get submitted. Because by the time you're a blue belt, you actually learn some submission defense. You're pretty, you're comfortable somewhat on the ground. You may not want to go to the ground, but if the fighter would have to go to the ground, you'd be comfortable enough to, actually be successful. Okay? In 2 years, wait a minute, excuse me guys, let's make a correction. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, you can't be a purple belt in 2 years, but you can be a blue belt in 2 years, okay? Everybody, sorry, scratch that. You're not going to be a purple belt in 2 years, and I hope I didn't say that. You can be a blue belt in 2 years, okay? Whew, had to get that back straight. But she's only 25 years old. Now, at 25 in MMA, you're starting late in the game, okay? You are. However, Carissa's young enough to learn some of the small things that can keep her safe in the octagon, okay? She can learn stuff as, takedown defense. And I saw a photograph of her and, Greg Jackson, and the first thing that he was showing her how to do was he was showing her how to sprawl. Take a look. Okay, here's a photograph of Claressa Shields learning how to sprawl. Okay, guys, I can't tell y'all, this is something very important, because as a boxer coming into the game, they're going to try to take her down. Okay, they're going to do everything they can to get this girl off her feet. Okay, it's not going to be a secret. Nobody is going to want to stand with Claressa Shields. They're not going to do it. Okay, these fighters would damn near, go run and hide before they stand with the girl and trade with her. These fighters, they're going to take her down. And I think that this is very important, that Claressa is learning how to sprawl. Okay, if this woman don't learn how to sprawl or how to, use good takedown defense, these fighters, they're going to make it pretty much easy pickings to get this woman off her feet. The one thing, though, I will, as another pro, Claressa has very strong legs, man. Her legs are strong. And I think for some fighters, it may prove difficult trying to get Claressa off of her feet. Okay, and I just have to tell y'all that. Her legs are extremely strong, and this might be a key into her surviving in the octagon against a person who's a very good wrestler. Also not listed, that I forgot to put on my chart, one pro to another pro, is that she fights for the PFL. Okay, and I know people are thinking, Coach, wait a minute, you think that's a pro? Yeah, I actually do, because the PFL, how can I put this? They're not going to give Claressa Shields, they're not going to give her opponents, okay, that's going to, really, test her at first. They're not going to do that. That's the one good thing I say about the PFL. I felt like Kayla Harrison was probably more prepared for MMA than Claressa Shields, because most of the time, I say this, okay, judokas and wrestlers and even people that do jiu-jitsu, I think they're more suited because the fight can go to the ground at any time. And I also think that people that practice Muay Thai, I think that those are the most suitable people to just walk right into an octagon and have success. Still, I'm on the fence. The boxers, I don't see the boxers having that kind of great deal of success starting out. But if you know Muay Thai, if you can wrestle, judo, jiu-jitsu, you're going to have some success, because maybe you don't know how to strike, but you can do a few things. You can survive, and if you got a good enough chin, you can eat a shot and come in without knowing anything, okay? And that's just knowing nothing. But she does have some time to actually do some stuff. And who knows, maybe by the time Claressa's 30 years old, maybe by the time she's 32, maybe she can be a purple belt. Maybe she can have some of the areas needed to be successful at mixed martial arts. Let's talk about the cons. Okay, the cons. Here we go. Okay, Claressa Shields at times can be very naive to the time frame it takes to have success in the octagon. Now, I'm not saying that she don't want to work at it. Of course, she's going to work at it. But I think that Claressa at times can be very, very naive to the time frame, and that could be detrimental, okay? Because if you deal with somebody who's very naive of MMA, then they may even, get into an octagon thinking that they're going to just wipe the floor with their opponent, and they may go into that octagon and get their ass whooped. So Claressa needs to be aware, and we'll talk about some of the stuff, man. We'll talk about some of this at the end of the video. Okay, number two. Claressa doesn't have a wrestling, judo, jiu-jitsu, sambo, whatever. She don't have a background of being able to operate on the ground. That's going to be problematic, okay? Even if you've been wrestling for 1-2 years, that's not enough time to, actually have a good wrestling game and having a good ground game. That's not enough time. And these fighters, what they're going to do, they're not going to stand with her, okay? They're not going to do it. They're going to go straight for the ground. Now, you may have some fighters like Jermaine Durandame, okay, like a fighter like Jermaine Durandame or a kickboxer. They'll stand with Claressa because they're going to believe that their stand-up is better. And when people say, well, Claressa can outstrike anybody in MMA, probably, well, that's not true, because you guys remember the fight with Heather Hardy versus Christina Williams. Heather Hardy could outbox Christina Williams. Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure of it. But see, in the octagon, it's totally different. And Claressa Shields, she's going to run up against people that can strike. Okay, she's going to run up against them. And see, where the problem is going to be for Claressa is that when she faces these strikers, instead of slipping punches, she's going to have to watch out for kicks. And I'm going to tell you, it's nothing like somebody hitting you with a couple of jabs and then they hide those kicks behind a jab. And, Claressa may not even be able to see the kicks coming. Okay, it's one thing to get punched in the face, but when you kicked in the face or kicked in the side of the head, that's a completely different feeling, okay? But I do believe that Claressa, she needs to get the takedown defense. If they're going to rush Claressa, if they're going to rush her and they're going to put her in the fight card in 2021, the takedown defense is what she needs to be working on. Okay, that's just it. If she can't defend the takedowns, she's not going to win a bout in 2021. It's just not enough time. Number three. Okay, this is a con, guys. And listen. People with coach, you got a bias against Jackson Wink. No, I don't have a bias. I can't stand him. And I'm just putting it out there. She's training with Jackson Wink. Guys, do y'all know that these people since, 2017, guys, dating all the way back? No, I'm thinking, further than that. These guys, they've only had, 9 wins, okay, 25 losses, 1 draw. Guys, these guys, they're constantly losing. And I wanted to play some clip from Cowboy Donald Cerrone and Diego Sanchez, but YouTube, they're very funny. I'm gonna tell you what Cowboy Cerrone said. Donald Cowboy Cerrone, he left the gym because of Mike Winkeljohn, okay? And it just said that Mike Winkeljohn is he's one of those characters that either you love him or you hate him. And to make a long story short, Cerrone, Cowboy was saying that they just called him up out of the blue one day, and Greg Jackson told him that he can't come to the gym. And I don't know, him and Mike Winkeljohn, they didn't see eye to eye. The problem, I think, Cowboy Cerrone didn't want Mike Winkeljohn actually being his striking coach. Cowboy Cerrone wanted to get another striking coach and keep Greg Jackson as his wrestling coach. And so Cowboy Cerrone couldn't even come to the gym. Greg Jackson used to have to come to Cowboy Cerrone. Okay, he used to have to come. And Greg Jackson says, not Greg Jackson, but Cowboy Cerrone said that it's just that these guys, they don't really have the passion anymore. And Cowboy Cerrone kind of picked up on it, like they didn't really have the passion. And he was saying that, I was losing. He said, I lost 3 straight, and I just, something's not right. I have to figure out what's going on. And Cowboy Cerrone pretty much said, hey, it's the culture at the gym. It's the culture it's the gym culture, And it's just those two. Greg Jackson, he was positive about Greg Jackson, but then he got mad because he said, Greg Jackson wouldn't even stand up for him. So it's kind of crazy, man. But Cowboy Cerrone, they talked about the culture of the gym, Greg Jackson not even being passionate, and, Greg Jackson not coming to the gym often. Like, ridiculous. And then Diego Sanchez, he said, man, look, Jackson and Wink, they stopped believing in me. He said they just literally stopped believing in me. And he said that Sometimes I couldn't even get any sessions with Greg Jackson. I couldn't get open mats. I couldn't get any work with Coach Wink. I couldn't get any work with those guys. And these guys, they stopped believing in me. And I've heard that before. There are fighters in the gym that they can't even get Jackson Wink in the corner. Like, this is real talk. There are fighters in that gym right now that when they have a fight, they can't get anybody in the corner. And I think you have to be on some kind of level to even to even fight Jackson Wink. And also too, Cowboy Cerrone, he was talking about the quality of people that can come into the gym. He said that Jackson Wink, it was more so about money than training and legacy. He said that a guy up the street can come in, join the gym, and actually spar with some of the top in the game. And I found that kind of crazy too. I don't think guys coming off the street should be able to spar with some of the top fighters in your gym. I mean, I think there's a progression phase that you go through. But no, he said if somebody wanted to pay, I guess, what he say the fee was like $150. He said they can get a sparring session with Holly Holm. And I said, damn, wow. And, Diego Sanchez has said that, these guys are just going through the motions. They're going through the motion. And, he was saying, yeah, about the losing. Like, there's a culture, there's a nasty spirit in that gym. And it's a culture of losing. These guys, they're losing. Like, they're losing. They've lost more fights in the last decade than they've won. That ought to tell you about a gym, okay? I don't know. Maybe they had their mojo back then, but God, dog, right now, Jackson Winklejohn, it's probably one of the gyms you wouldn't want to go to. And I think that Claressa is very ignorant of this because she's MMA ignorant, okay? These are not the GOAT coaches. I mean, if Claressa really wants to go to a gym, I mean, there are plenty of gyms out there. And I know Claressa, she don't want to go to ATT because it's kind of like she be in direct competition with Kayla and Amanda, so she don't want to go there. And I get that. But, you got Budokan. You got Budokan up there in New York with Tanisha Tennant. They do it. They do a great job. You got 10th Planet Fitness. You got Team Alpha Male. I mean, you got what? You got Team War. You got so many different gyms running around up there, man, that you can do. Okay, there's so many gyms that she can get a hold of. But, me personally, I think for an MMA fighter that's starting, I just don't think Jackson Winklejohn it. I think they've lost their style. They've lost their whatever. They've lost it. They've lost their swag. And this is going to be a detriment, y'all. This is a very bad con. And I hope that Claressa isn't going to train there full time. Maybe she picking up some pointers and then find a really stable gym where she can actually train out of and really train and really get the fundamentals because it seems like Jackson Winklejohn don't even want to do the fundamental stuff anymore. They don't want to do that. You already got Claressa doing jumping knees, and I'm like, whoa, okay. She's already doing jumping knees. Like, what the hell? You ask any trainer out there in MMA, they're going to tell you, nah, you're not starting with that kind of high-end stuff right now. You're going to start with fundamentals. So when I saw the jumping knees, I said, nope. I said, they're going to get her hurt. Number 4. Okay, because of her name, MMA trainers may not be truthful with her. Yeah. Now, this is going to kind of piggyback on number 3. Okay, because of the name of Claressa Shields, they're not going to be totally truthful. They're not going to tell her, look, this is what you got to do. This is it, okay? You can't deal with some of these fighters, and they won't even tell Claressa that you can't deal with an amateur fighter right now. Listen, stay in your lane, okay? Let's really get the fundamentals down. Let's do what we got to do. Let's learn the basics. Let's build this thing right. Because me as a coach, I'm going to tell you now, when you build something on a weak foundation, and then you try to go and make it stand, it's not going to work. Okay, the house is going to fall down. And I think she needs a trainer that's going to be real with her and tell her, look, you're not ready for this competition, that competition, but hey, you're ready for this person. Let's go ahead and get a fight going, and let's really progress you the right way. Let's not throw you into a fight because some damn promoter, they just want you to get in there and make them some fast money. No, okay? She need to be around people that they're going to be truthful with her because Claressa don't understand the MMA game. It's dirty. Y'all think boxing dirty? The MMA game is dirty too. It's very dirty. And Claressa could find herself, in there with somebody who she shouldn't even be in there with. Okay, and the girl still got a boxing career. She still got that. She still want to fight the best in boxing. She still want to be, considered as the GOAT in boxing. But one bad MMA fight, go look at Heather Hardy. Okay, I mean really look at that. They matched in there with Christina Williams. Okay, bad matchup. She was set up to fail. And I'm gonna tell you the same thing will happen to Claressa Shields if she don't get around people that are going to tell her the truth. Number 5. Okay, Claressa at times will believe that her hands are the end all and be able to stand with anyone. No, no. And I say again, go back to Heather Hardy, go back to a lot of the boxers that have gotten in the octagon. Okay, because Claressa Shields is a great boxer, that doesn't mean that she can stand with every single body in mixed martial arts. It's not going to happen. Okay, because in MMA there are different things that come into play. Okay, like if you get fighters, they get close to you. Okay, and you strike with them. Some people can jab and throw jabs at you, and you can catch them, but then they can counter you with a kick. See, people don't understand. Boxers don't get that. Not only can you be countered with your hands, a person can counter you with a kick. And let me tell you something. You get countered with a kick that you don't see, your ass might get knocked smooth out. Okay, so no, Claressa got to get out of her mind that she can stand with anybody in the octagon. Nah. Okay, because MMA fighters, they're going to do things. They're going to body kick you. They're going to leg kick you. Okay, she got to be prepared. She's got to be prepared to see these things coming, because some of these kickboxers or these Muay Thai practitioners, they're going to stand with you. They're going to stand and they're going to bang with you. They're going to stand right there in your face. Okay, I want y'all to remember the fight with Chris Cyborg. And everybody, Chris Cyborg's striking was revered. Well, when she fought Jarena JoJo Bars, guess what happened? Jarena JoJo Bars stood right there. And she went toe to toe. Okay, and Jarena Bars was countering Chris Cyborg with head kicks. And I'm talking about, Chris was getting caught with some shots. So everybody, just because you can stand well and you're a boxer, you got some fighters that's going to stand with you. Like you got the Loma Lookboomes, they'll stand with you. You got Jermaine Durandame types, they'll stand with you. You got Janaya Fabian, they'll stand with you. Okay, they will stand up with you. You got Josette Cottons, they'll stand with you. They will stand there and they will fight you. Okay, so she's got to really understand that part of MMA, that they're gonna be there for it. They're gonna stand. And guys, that's it. Now, guys, I want y'all to understand something. Okay, people sometimes they misunderstand Claressa Shields. Claressa Shields grew up in a very bad environment, guys, and her environment sometimes, she have flashbacks, and she's just not like, she seems arrogant all the time and angry, and well, when you grew up in that environment, abuse and just, people trying to take advantage of you sexually, as a little girl, man, that stuff is traumatizing. And I can believe that Claressa Shields didn't have a normal childhood. I grew up in that environment. So I know exactly how she felt. But, hey, y'all, I think Claressa overall can be a success in MMA. But I think, being with good trainers and people that's going to really watch out for her, that's going to be the key. Okay, that's going to be the key. And she need people that's going to tell her the uncompromised truth. Whether what she want to hear it or not, these people, they got to tell her the truth, man. MMA is a very dirty business, and if you don't understand the business end of it, and if you don't understand what promoters in mixed martial arts will do to you, okay, being a gatekeeper in MMA is much worse than being a gatekeeper in the sport of boxing. I'm done.